Um, Thank you, Business World team. Really appreciate the opportunity, and thanks everyone who is attending this. So without further ado, I will directly get into the presentation. Hi, I'm Siddharth. I'm Managing Director for a company called MIQ. And we are into programmatic media data. I will give a small introduction about what we do as well, because we are a B2B business, and where we come from is a lot of focus on data and analytics. And I think that is very, very important, because I was just hearing Pankaj as well, and he made a very important point that I think data is there. Data is being taken by the D2C brand from the consumers directly, and that is great. That is the power. But how do you really harness the data, and then how do you optimize the consumer experience? How do you stay true to your promise to the consumer, and then give them the best of the experience? I think that is very, very key, and that's where I would look at very practical points on in my experience of working with many brands over the years, and many e-commerce and D2C brands in the last decade. Very, very key points which are important, which are very practical, which need to be understood in a very good way, and that helps you to do a good D2C launch, and then from there grow your brand in a very good way, in a very profitable way, right? So this is just 4 points which I wanted to discuss. And before that, a quick introduction to about MIQ. So we are, as a company, very, very focused on, as I was saying, data and analytics. We are experts in combining real world and digital data through tech, and applying deep analytics to create insights. And then these actionable insights are applied to DSP media campaigns and combined with world-class servicing to help brands win big. So, this is a lot of English, but in a simple way, what we do is, non-search, non-social media, which is there out on digital, which could be display, video, app networks, display networks, all are, part of the programmatic channel, part of open internet as well. And that display and video primarily, and then there will be other channels which are getting added as well, like connected TV, digital out of home, and so many other channels which will be coming in as well. But these are the media which are really important once you have focused on search and social as your primary medium for performance marketing. And I was at Google, have spent many years at Google, and I always used to believe that when you are going out of the performance marketing medium and you're focusing on other channels, then you really need a lot of power. You need power of data as well as technology to combine data and media together. And that's where you are able to then help brands in a very strong way. Otherwise, many brands, continue to focus on performance marketing, and that's where they are not able to grow in a very good way. So this is something which we really focus on, and from that perspective, this is a very heavy slide. But what I'm trying to say is that a lot of D2C brands are looking at also creating their consumer data platform, and we have created India's largest data platform with 700 million consumers reach. And that is because globally, that's what we have been doing. We are present in 30 plus countries, and we have 200 plus data partnerships. And what we have done is we have brought in all this data together and have connected these data points with each other. So we are collecting a lot of attributes, 500 plus attributes. It could be audience data, contextual data, location, offline brand data, device level data, IP level data, etc. And we are stitching it together and able to then provide a very comprehensive view for the brand when they are looking at enriching and harnessing their first party data using this third party data which we have. And I will explain the process in more detail, but this is something which is a very, very practical point in terms of harnessing the data in the best possible way. And we are also able to combine a lot of macro data trends as well, which helps in figuring out what are the right moments when consumer is getting in touch with your brand, or this is the right moment when you need to be out there in touch with the consumer and provide them the value which they are requiring at that particular point in time. And because of the innovations on data and technology, we have a very good scale in India market in a short span of time. Hundreds of brands are our clients, and we have won some very interesting awards also with clients like L'Oreal and CoinSwitch in the India market. So this is just a small bit about the company and where we are coming from. So getting to the core of the topic, which is D2C. So the first thing which, and obviously we know D2C market is exploding. There are so many new brands which are coming into the picture, and they're all looking at how do I launch right? How do I grow my traffic? How do I grow my trials? How do I grow my brand? And I think this is something, it's a very, very important phase. It can be a make or break phase. And the key point in this phase, which I want to make is that, um, from a channels perspective, many of these brands, they would start with search and social, as I was saying earlier. And I think that is a good thing to do, right? Because and you would want to rely a bit on paid marketing initially to get your traffic, get your trials down, and understand your consumer, where your consumer is coming from, where is your value proposition resonating. But at the same time, in the initial phase of your vision itself, I would say that you should also look at adding more channels as a part of your plan, maybe not from day one, but in the initial phase itself, you would want to test multiple channels, when you are bringing traffic to your app or to your website. And these incremental channels will bring in incremental audience pools because, there is a lot of diversity on internet in the market right now, and the diversity is only going to increase. And I'm predominantly talking about digital here. Later, you can also look at other channels as well. But my big recommendation is that you should look at multiple channels in the initial phase. Maybe, again, not maybe from day one, but in the initial phase, you should have a plan for that. And that will help you, from initial phase itself, if you are moving in that direction, that will help you to have a more scalable model because you are able to have many different audience pools. And coming back to data and analytics, if you are also having a robust analytics framework in the beginning itself, in the phase one itself, as a part of your vision, that these incremental channels, how am I going to measure? Then you will have the best chance of having a business model which is going to be scalable. And that's where, instead of getting saturated on few channels in the beginning, you will be able to test out a lot of channels, and you will be able to move your growth over a period of time in a much larger arc than what you are able to do with a limited number of channels. So this is something which is like a big point which I wanted to talk about during your launch phase, and it's a food for thought as well. Then the other important point, which is very, very critical, obviously, is with D2C, you are able to have a lot of data, right? You are able to understand, where your consumer is coming from, but you need to develop a much, much deeper understanding of your consumer, right? And that will also help you to understand that where is your consumer geographically, or on which channel where you want to do marketing. And then from there, you would be able to target precisely, and you would be also able to save a lot of cost for yourself. So a simple case study, but a very, very important point which is being demonstrated in this case study is that you need to understand your consumer, and there's a very good way to do it. So this is a case study of a global luxury retailer. So the question they were asking us was that not all users purchasing on my website are equal. How do I understand my own brand audiences and build media strategy for the same? So what we did was we technically integrated and understood who is their consumer, right? And we divided their consumer pools into 4 buckets by value and frequency. So obviously, this bucket is of the consumers who are buying at low frequency and low value. Then we have this bucket where consumers are buying at high frequency, but they are buying low value. Then these are the consumers who are buying at average frequency level. They are buying at average revenue level as well. But this is the consumer who is obviously most important because they are buying at high frequency and they are buying at high value as well, right? And I will also connect this to to my earlier point where in the initial phase, if you are testing and different channels and getting audiences from different channels, then you have a much better chance of understanding a variety of audience pools and how they are how they're coming onto your D2C website or app, and how are they behaving. And then from there, you can see that for this most valuable customers, the order volume is very small, but the amount of revenue which is there is very, very huge, right? So obviously you would want to understand all the profiles, definitely these three profiles, but definitely you want to understand this profile in a much deeper way and at priority. So and then what we did was, again, I will connect back to the previous slide which I had shown, where we have our own data management platform and a lot of third-party data we have integrated. So this is the first-party data which is coming for this brand, and then we overlaid our third-party data, matched it with the first-party data they have, and we were able to help them with the complete profile of the consumer, right? So this is the consumer who is most valuable because she is buying most frequently and high-value items. And users who are most likely to make multiple high-value purchases are single women between the ages of 25 to 34 who work in fashion or merchandising and have a household income between $60,000 to $80,000 per year. So this is something which gives a lot of insights to the brand, and it also helps brand to understand that from a media perspective where this consumer is, right? And then what should be the right message, what should be the right timing, and what should be the channels where I should be targeting these consumers and get more of these. So and I think this is the crux, right? The whole idea of D2C is that you are directly getting the data and the feedback from the consumer, and then how can you get more out of it by using third-party data, or by using a data platform, and then really understanding the full profile of the consumer, and then fine-tuning your marketing strategy. And it can also help in fine-tuning your product strategy as well. So and there are various ways you can understand your consumer first-party data with site pixels, or through CRM, or through Google Floodlights. And we have already shown the power of when you have a lot of data, but you use it in the right way, then you are able to get a lot of insights. And then from there, what we are also talking about is that you can also then look at building your own data platform and then connecting your first party data into the hub as well. And this is something which we have been enabling for many brands in the India market as well. And it is very important that the understanding of the consumer profile, and also mapping it to how these consumers are coming onto your website, and how is their journey across your website or across your app. I think this is something which is very, very important as well, and that also opens up a lot of new insights for you to personalize the consumer experience for different cohorts in a different way, and try to provide the best experience which you can give to these cohorts. And then from there, what we are also talking about is, can you also then combine all this consumer profile, site analytics, and your media strategy, so that you can even predict the user conversion intent in real time, and then from there optimize your media strategy that way, right? So there is a lot can be done by combining data, media, and analytics, and there is a right way of doing it, which is where you are able to really maximize all the assets you have, and then you are able to harness it in the right way. So you have launched your brand, you have used multiple channels, you also understood your consumer, you have fine-tuned your media strategy as well. You also looked at your website and the user journey. The third big pillar is how are you able to analyze, and how are you able to measure the impact of all these actions which you are doing. So it is very important, and I just wanted to introduce some of these concepts here, and one of the important concept in the measurement is the incremental lift, right? So when you're doing a media strategy, uh, what you can do is you can, have a control group and an expose group, and you can create an incremental analysis that, between the control group and expose group, those consumers who have viewed my ad, what is the incrementality I'm getting? And then from there, you can also link it to multiple channels. So, you can measure the incrementality, and you can also look at, which channels are really helping you in getting the conversions, and which channels are helping each other. So, there is a lot of focus in India market on last click measurement. But I think from there, we are now moving into an understanding that multiple channels are important, and we need to understand how consumer is going through these channels and then coming to me and then converting, and then what is the interaction between these channels as well. And that's where, what I would like to also emphasize here is that, and we have seen this in the last decade, that, many brands who have relied mainly on, search or social, they have been having a good level of growth, but then at some point in time the growth gets saturated. And that's where the strategy of, having a framework of having multiple channels from the beginning, and then growing them and measuring them in the right way is very, very important. And these incremental channels, they not only help drive direct conversions, but from an analytics perspective, what you can also measure is that how are they helping you to drive conversions, indirect conversions, basically, because from a multi-channel attribution perspective, they are supporting your lower funnel like search and social, and they are scaling them in a very good way. And if you have the right analytics framework in the beginning phase of your launch itself, then you will be able to measure the incrementality which these channels are able to deliver. And then from there, as I was saying, the effect of multiple channels plus right measurement will help you to scale in a very, very good way, and help you to have a very good runway in terms of the scale up as you go along, and not get into a problem of getting saturated and then from there struggling to figure out how do I move forward from here. Once you've done all these three things, I would say the last point which I've seen, in this journey for many brands is that, you are still, you would have added channels, you would have understood your consumer, but you're still having a very strong focus on performance. Nothing wrong with it. But at the end of the day, I think the core of D2C is the story, right? So you need to really own your story. You need to understand the promise which you are giving to the consumer, and then tell a good story about it. And I think that is very, very critical, because, and especially during this time when there is an explosion of D2C brands in the India market, if you do not have a good story to tell, right? You might have a good story inherently, but if you don't tell, and if you don't build your brand, I think that is something which is going to create hurdles in your journey. It's very, very important to focus on branding. And one important point I would like to make in this area is that the world has changed a lot, right? So in the last 2 years, what we have seen is that uh, we have been coming out again, working from home. Pandemic has been going on, and there has been a lot of changes in terms of the consumer behavior and how they are consuming media. So I think one of the biggest change which I can see in the India market, and I'm just showing a case study here, is that you have to keep doing your performance marketing, but when you're looking at branding, yes, traditional TV is a great channel which you should rely on, and obviously it will require budgets, but that is an important channel. When you come on TV, come on traditional TV, that creates a lot of trust. At the same time, be aware that there are a lot of consumers in the market who have completely switched off from the traditional TV, what we call cord cutters. So, obviously OTTs have come up, connected TV is coming up now in a big way. So that is something which you should keep in mind, and also look at how you're going to connect to the cord cutters. And the cord cutters may be one of the most important, audience pool which you would have, because they are most tech savvy, they are affluent, and they are they like to try new things, right? So from a D2C brand perspective, they might actually be the best audiences who you would want to connect to, and that too in a big medium like TV. But it's digital TV, it's connected TV, it's not the traditional TV. And this case study just talks about that you can drive a very strong brand efficiencies and brand impact on connected TV, and it can if the audience is right, if you understood that this is the right audience for me, it can even create much better impact for you than even linear TV as well. So in conclusion, and this is completely from my perspective of working with many D2C brands and many e-commerce brands all through many years in the industry. I think drive traffic and initial brand building, that is very, very important. Focus on multiple channels. Then very, very important to understand consumer. That is the whole point of D2C. And this will help you to do precise targeting. Please, in your marketing strategy, have data and analytics as a strategy from day one. That is very, very critical. I cannot overemphasize. And then, of course, build your story to scale. Very, very important that your story gets out and you own your story, you own your brand in a very good way. And I think the last point is pretty obvious, but it's worth repeating. Consumer obsession is key, especially in the D2C industry. And all this technology and data will help you to really fructify all your efforts about consumer obsession and about understanding your consumer. So with this, thank you. Thanks a lot.